Good evening, welcome to Prime Edition. I am Cynthia Nyamai. Now, tonight, we have shocking statistics where NACADA says that at least 17% of Kenyans have used an illegal drug. And also in business, the government has a revival plan for the textile industry and is currently distributing 30 tons of cotton seeds. And in sports, we take you to Eldoret to witness the final journey of Kiptum. We have that and much more coming up shortly, but first, let's have the highlights. The drug and alcohol trap. NACADA survey shows 17% of Kenyans have abused at least one type of an illegal substance. Rising debt. Controller of Budget, Margaret Nyakango, raises the red flag over Kenya's rising debt position. And honoring an icon, Eldoret residents flock the streets to mourn late marathoner Kelvin Kiptum ahead of his burial tomorrow. Good evening, I am Cynthia Nyamai and we would like to hear from you. You can send us your comments on our social media pages, that is KBC Channel 1 on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. And also on the other side we do have Brian Muraro, who is our interpreter. Now, disturbing statistics indicate that at least 17% of Kenyans have abused at least one type of illegal substance in their lifetime. This is according to a survey conducted by the National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, NACADA, 1 year ago. The authority has blamed the continued laxity in enforcing liquor licensing regulations and corruption as the greatest threat to ending the problem of abuse of illicit alcohol and drugs. Joseph Wakuhungu has details of the grim numbers at a time the country is grappling with an increase in cases of drug addictions.
More than a week after 17 people lost their lives after imbibing illicit brew in Kirinyaga County. Report of a survey it conducted in the year 2022 on the state of abuse of alcohol and drugs. The report painted a grim picture of the continued burden facing the country in eliminating the vice. Speaking during the opening ceremony of the National Substance Use Prevention Summit in Nairobi on Thursday, NACADA Board Chair Dr. Stephen Mairori revealed that 17% of Kenyans abuse illegal drugs and substances, with Western region having majority of the addicts.
In terms of drugs, alcohol is the leading one. You know, anything that alters your brain is a drug. Many people don't take alcohol as a drug, but alcohol is a drug and is the leading cause of what I would call now mental illness. The second one is what we know as bangi, and that's also a major problem in our country.
To curb the worrying statistics, NACADA is urging counties to emulate Kirinyaga County and tighten liquor licensing amid the rise in unregulated outlets.
You may not know unless you take such a step. And so I think the governor step is in the right direction. I think first you just need to stop and then begin afresh so that you vet all those and you are able to give the licenses to the right group.
Stakeholders who spoke during the National Substance Use Prevention Summit also called for targeted messages for the youth on the need to spearhead the fight against drug and alcohol abuse.
But how are we going to have a targeted messages to our crew, our Matatu crew, who transport lives? I regard Matatu as the third parent of this country. But do you feel protected? I'll ask you, do you feel protected? And also you as a citizen, are you taking enough responsibility in regards into allowing yourself to be driven by a drunk driver?
Now, as the National Substance Use Prevention Week kicks off in Nairobi, NACADA is calling for more concerted efforts between counties and national government in as far as ending war on drugs and substance in the country. For Prime Edition reporting, I'm Joseph Wakuhungu.
Now, Kenya is keen to have all tea exported to the international market branded Kenyan tea. President William Ruto says this will eliminate situations where other countries repackage and sell tea from Kenya as their own. As Abdiziz Hashim narrates, the country has also rolled out initiatives to boost the quality of tea through scaling in its tea value chain at the Lipton Tea Innovation and Technology Academy.
After a brief meeting between President William Ruto and Natalie Ross, the CEO of Lipton Teas and Infusion Limited, Kenya will host the Lipton Tea Innovation and Technology Academy, which is the first of its kind.
I think it's time now for us, using scientific empirical evidence, for us to tell our farmers what kind of tea will give them the best price. And that is why this academy becomes very important.
Global market volatility and changing consumer tastes, our ability to innovate will determine our future success. Specialized training is therefore essential.
The 500 million establishment that will be hosted at the University of Kabianga will mainly target tea farmers and other Kenyans interested in acquiring skills within the tea value chain.
We have a 500 million academy supporting our entire tea industry of 5 million Kenyans. 650,000 farmers will benefit from this intervention. And for the first time, we will have Kenyan origin on the labels of tea in the world. That has always been what we've always desired.
The Lipton Tea Innovation and Technology Academy will be a global center of excellence. It will combine theoretical teaching, applied research, and practical experience.
Lipton Innovation and Technology Academy will be able to train our farmers on improved farming techniques, and this will, of course, improve the quality and the yield of our tea.
President Ruto said the administration will work closely with Lipton so as to market the Kenya tea brand in retail stores in other countries.
The English breakfast tea will be replaced by Kenyan tea because it has always been Kenyan tea, but it has always been labeled English breakfast tea. Thank you, Liptons, for making it a reality for us to have a Kenyan brand.
The president also assured that the tea packaging materials, especially those meant for export, will not be taxed so as to boost revenue and improve the farmers' earnings. According to President William Ruto, this initiative will address the unemployment issue in the country, especially among the youths. Abdiziz Hashim from State House, Nairobi, Prime Edition.
Azimio la Umoja coalition now claims Kenyans should be ready for a fresh wave of taxation. Speaking on Thursday, the coalition, led by Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, claimed that the budget policy statement, that's the BPS, being processed in Parliament will burden Kenyans with the second wave of taxes.
After going through the contents of the budget policy statement, BPAs for 2024-2025 financial year, Azimio Coalition now claims Kenya Kwanza government will be implementing double taxation.
To the ordinary Kenyans, the Mama Boga, Boda riders, and the people of Mjengo, this regime is coming again with a double taxation plan with increased taxes of approximately 27,000 shillings per every adult Kenyan.
Speaking at Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Foundation, Azimio co-principal Kalonzo Musyoka noted the government's economic proposals, policies and strategies will increase the tax burden drastically. On Affordable Housing Levy Bill 2023, Kalonzo lauded the bold move by Azimio MPs who, during the second reading of the controversial bill, remained firm to the wishes of Kenyans.
It was largely against the wishes of majority of suffering Kenyans. We therefore commit to protect the interests of Kenyans at all times.
Meanwhile, the burial ceremony of Narok Town Ward MCA Lucas Kudate, which was held at his home at Nkairamiram in Narok North constituency, turned into a political warfare between opposition and ruling UDA politicians. Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga's AU post-quest and President William Ruto's housing bill taking center stage.
Tunataka bei na gharama ya maisha ishuke chini, si ndio? Jana wamepitisha mswada kule kwenye bunge kuongeza ushuru tena mambo ya housing.
Mimi nitafanya juu chini kuongelesha viongozi wa Afrika mzima, heads of state, ili tuweze kudeport Raila Odinga aende Addis Ababa.
However, the tussle between the two parties centered much on Kenya Kwanza development policies.
Niwaambie tu hasa ndugu yangu Secretary General, niko na waheshimiwa MCS hapa ambao wanatoka ODM na kuna wale ambao wanatoka chama tawala ya UDA. Na wote wakati nimekuwa governor nimewaleta pamoja ili tufanye kazi pamoja.
And the raft of reforms that are ongoing in the health sector will solve the problems of cancer and other many health problems facing this country. And yes, we will continue to see the glass as half full, and with time, we shall be vindicated.
Well, we will be taking our first break, but when I come back, I will be telling you about the warning that media practitioners have received on fake news. That and much more coming up shortly.
Shamba ni mbili, yako ni gani? Kwenye star 570 hash. Every 100 shillings unayotumia kwa Lucky Game inakupa 1 entry point ya kuingia kwenye drum ya draw, ambayo inakupa fursa ya kujishindia moja kati ya shamba hizi mbili. Mwisho wa April namtangaza mshindi wa shamba hili la 1.1 million Kenyan shillings na unapata title deed yako safi. Na mwisho wa Mei namtangaza mshindi wa shamba hili la 1.1 million Kenyan shillings, lori za mawe na mchanga. Ploti ndizo hizi. Dial star 570 hash. Title deed ndio hii. Vuka na shake.
Welcome to Sensei Institute. Mahali skills zangu ni pesa mkononi. At Sensei College, practical skills is the definition. Accredited by the government and founded on a Christian background, Sensei College offers all-rounded programs that are tailor-made to enhance your skills and give you the future you desire. We offer courses such as interior design, fashion and design, hairdressing and beauty, hospitality courses, trailer driving and defensive driving, building construction technology, CCTV, solar and electrical installation, photography and video production, electronic courses, vehicle electronics and mechanic courses, agricultural mechanics, ICT, and many more. To enroll in any of our campuses in Nairobi and Nakuru, all you need is your national ID card. Mapema do best. Take advantage of our monthly intake. Come to kusort na skills. Sensei College, my skills, my future.
不合适的，你又不认识他，你只是想认识他。哦，确实不合适。这样我问问，我有10个人。像杨东这样，生命里只有物理啊，对自己的生活都毫不在意的人，居然能够放下一切的研究，跟丁仪一起去装修房子、筹备婚礼。我也看到过一对神手，那个时候我真的自己很绝望。或许我想我要自杀，但更有可能的是，我就这么消极的活下去，放弃自己的研究，做一名老师，然后就这么混完一辈子。但是突然又有一天，我眼前又出现了一个倒计时。
Welcome back. Now, media practitioners have been challenged to make use of modern technological advancements geared towards the prevention of spread of fake news and misinformation. Speaking at the Nairobi National Museum, stakeholders mentioned Fumbua Information Integrity Toolkit as a key instrument for detecting disinformation.
Those guys are not ready for this guy. Is the guy for like, no.
At the Nairobi National Museum, the second Africa Media Festival is underway. The festival brought together media stakeholders from over 20 countries to discuss the future of media.
Audiences are now fragmented, right? And if we think of our media products as appealing to a niche, it doesn't mean that our audience is small. Niche means specific. So what specific need are you responding to that your user is coming to you? What problem are you solving for them?
The scribes have discussed the need to fact-check information they get before publishing.
When we're talking about mis and disinformation, we are bashing journalists, but also the people who do fact-checking are journalists. And so as Fumbua, we've had the opportunity to work with fact-checkers, and we've developed an information integrity toolkit. And we launched this information integrity toolkit last year. And so what we're doing this year is making that information integrity toolkit accessible on WhatsApp. So we recently launched a WhatsApp bot which will help with the training, and it will train mostly the public.
Additionally, journalists have been urged to raise awareness on their own mental health rather than focusing mostly on the public.
It's important for us journalists to face the issues that we are also going through, talk about them, and also seek help and get support for ourselves. Looking even at the media houses, support your staff, support the journalists that work for you, make sure they get the support that they need.
The media was also urged to embrace the use of artificial intelligence in the newsroom.
The models will change, how we approach production will change. People will have to almost like reskill but not lose their jobs. And like any other change, it's painful, and most people are afraid or sometimes skeptical of taking it up. My urge to the industry and the players within the industry is to actually embrace it and see how to improve and work with it, because it's here to stay. We are not going back.
Auctioneers in Nairobi County have attached property worth 7 million shillings belonging to a local church official after he defaulted a bank loan. Representing the guarantors, lawyer Wambugu Wanjohi said his clients have already been deducted money, with some losing up to 2 million shillings each. Details on this and more are in the news briefs.
Auctioneers raided the home of the newly elected treasurer of one of the local churches in Nairobi, cutting away with, among others, electronics, furniture and vehicles worth 7 million shillings. The man is said to have defaulted on his loan, forcing the lending institution to attach his guarantors.
Koti ikatupatia idhini, tunaweza pata hiyo pesa kutoka kwa nani? David Nderito Ndumu. Lakini sheria sako kama ishakata hiyo pesa ni yao. Juu they willingly guaranteed this person.
Speed cameras along the northern corridor have reportedly led to a drop in accidents in the area. According to the National Transport and Safety Authority, NTSA, drivers using the route are more cautious, thus reducing accidents by 50%. The northern corridor includes Nairobi-Nakuru Highway.
Road safety is everybody's responsibility, and that's why in the drafting of this action plan, it was important to bring on board everybody and elevate the stature of that particular
County First
document.
Lady Janet Baraza has urged parents to encourage their children to attend school and avoid early pregnancies.
Tuwapatie mawaidha. But hawa tayari wamepata watoto, tuwasaidie kulea hawa watoto.
And residents of Matanya village in Laikipia have conducted cleansing ceremony after 3 people were killed in the area by a known gang. The locals now want to partner with the government to stop alcohol and narcotics uptake in the area for their safety.
Pasipokuwa na amani kama area hii ya Matanya,
hatuwezi kusonga pamoja. Irene Mchuma, Udim, the Prime Edition.
The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change 6th assessment shows that human-driven methane emissions are responsible for nearly 45% of current global net warming. This has prompted policymakers and climate proponents to call for concerted efforts in minimizing emissions by adhering to the implementation pledge policy alongside net zero carbon emission. The call to action comes ahead of the 6th meeting of the United Nations Environment Assembly.
With the Earth warming up at a faster rate, methane gas has been singled out as one of the greenhouse gases with the ability to trap heat in the atmosphere stronger than that of carbon dioxide. On a 100-year timescale, methane has 28 times greater global warming potential than carbon dioxide. With its emission constantly increasing by the day, policymakers and climate proponents are calling for concerted efforts for its reduction.
In the case of methane, not only is the damage not offset by fertilization, the damage is augmented by ozone formation. So the same ozone that kills people kills off many of our crops. It drastically lowers growth of things like rice and soybeans, as well as several other major crops.
And here, focusing on short-lived climate pollutants is a way to curb the warming faster in the near term, and that's why it matters as well.
Reducing its emission by 45% means 0.3 degrees Celsius of the rate at which the Earth is warming up could be avoided by 2040.
Causes deaths via things like cardiovascular disease and respiratory diseases. It also causes lots of morbidity impacts, and these include non-fatal heart attacks. They include loss of IQ points in children.
This comes ahead of the 6th meeting of the United Nations Environment Assembly that will be hosted in United Nations headquarters in Nairobi, with main focus on climate change, biodiversity and pollution. Opicho Chemtai for Prime Edition.
Welcome back. It's now time for business. Now, the Controller of Budget wants the National Treasury to renegotiate all commercial loans entered with international lenders. COG Margaret Nyakongo says most of the loans given by International Monetary Fund and the World Bank are not as cheap as interest paid on the loans average of 14.5%, which she says is expensive in the long run with minimal impact on economic development.
Thank you for your time.
Appearing before the National Assembly Public Debt Privatization Committee, the Controller of Budget urged Treasury to refrain from expensive loan buybacks at a time when the country is spending 98% of revenue collected to service its loans.
If we had a sinking fund, we wouldn't be taking overdraft facilities. It would be our own overdraft account. And all we needed to do is that the amounts that we are sending to the overdraft account, and we saw here for 6 months, we have 4.2 billion. That would have been going to the sinking fund account. But every time I have tried to broach the subject, I've been told there is no money to start the sinking fund.
Nyakago questioned the existing concessional loans given by multilateral partners, saying they are not as cheap as interest paid on the loans average 14.5%.
What are you willing to tell Kenyans? Because every economist, including yourself, you are talking about concession loans, which the government should go for. But now we turn around to say, so what is causing these concession loans of the IMF specifically and the World Bank to be more expensive than the otherwise thought loans that should have been very, very.
The Controller of Budget is proposing a review of existing loans and projects, citing anomalies in usage and interest.
I was forced to write to the Treasury to tell them to please convene this National Project Steering Committee and ensure that when we borrow, the implementing agency is able to start the project.
The MDAs are the ones delaying. Can you follow up with the MDAs? And the fact that you have given us a very good example here, I think this is one of the first loans that we're going to follow up. And we might be contacting you, your office.
She cited the continued rise in debt service cost, noting that if the trend continues, the government will end up spending over 800 billion shillings on debt interest expense by the end of this financial year. Weri Mujenga for Prime Edition.
Kenya is looking to attract 44 billion shillings in investment towards the creative economy over the next 10 years. In an ambitious plan, the government is set to develop necessary infrastructure, conduct skills training, facilitate market access, and offer incentives for investors to unlock the full potential of the creative industry.
Kenya's creative sector contributes 5% to the national gross domestic product. The government is in the progress of providing a comprehensive roadmap to empower creatives, attract investment, and position the nation as a global hub for creativity and innovation. Creative Economy Cabinet Secretary Babuna Mwamba says key components of the plan include infrastructure development, skills training, market access facilitation, and financial incentives for investors.
It is very much in sync with Kenya's mission statement of developing and managing a dynamic national innovation system that catalyzes jobs and wealth creation in line with the Kenya Kwanza bottom-up economic transformation agenda, or the bottom-up economic model.
Namwamba emphasized the pivotal role of the creative economy in driving sustainable development and job creation.
Infrastructure, and we believe that transforming this infrastructure into innovation hubs will answer to the challenge of accessibility and inclusivity across the country in this respect.
Industry players believe the collaboration between government and partners signals a new era of partnership and collective action aimed at advancing the creative economy.
We have attracted quite some funding already, and we also are in the process of engaging the National Treasury about the funding of that 10-year Innovation Master Plan. Now, the strategic plan is a subset. The master plan is national. The strategic plan is institutional. So as an institution, we have identified a number of things that we will work on. So a subset of that budget will actually go towards implementing the strategic plan of the Innovation Agency.
Frederick Moki for Prime Edition.
The government has forged strategic partnerships with global technology companies such as Intel Corporation, Amazon Web Services, and Gradle Africa to spearhead digital transformation in Kenya. ICT Principal Secretary John Tanui says the public-private partnership will also help in the digitization agenda that seeks to move all government services online.
The official opening of a two-day forum aimed at equipping public ICT officers with the necessary skills and knowledge, PS Tanui said the training will help promote effective service delivery and fast-track digital transformation in the public service.
We have a partnership with Intel Corporation, with Amazon Web Services, and also Gradle Africa, who have come together to see that we champion this digital transformation by bringing together all the actors in the public sector to look at the opportunity, the challenges, and the means in which we can accelerate the agenda of digitalization in the Kenyan government.
The PS further says the government is building digital hubs in all wards in the country to enable the young people have a place to work, get new skills, and access digital services.
We are also looking at how do we unlock opportunities for the citizens of our country through this infrastructure. So we want to ensure there is Wi-Fi in our markets, Wi-Fi in the public road stages. We want to ensure we can support the private sector. Currently, we have about 1.1 broadband fixed network connection to our businesses and homes. We want to see that we can connect this the way we have connected power to probably about 8.5 million connections, so that every home is connected with fiber.
The meeting is being attended by executives, board chairs, and ICT heads from various government ministries, departments, and agencies.
Wacha kungoja, kwenye star 570 hash kuna ploti na ni up to 1.1 million Kenyan shillings with a genuine title deed na inakungoja. Star 570 hash, bukana zake.
To get past pain as your skiza tune, dial star 812 star 502 hash.
You don't have to carry your past pain into your present. Your generation doesn't have to go through the pain you went through. You have what it takes to bring a new life, a new breath, a new atmosphere, a new name into your generation. Don't just sit and watch a repeated pain.
To get past pain, dial star 812 star 502 hash. Star 812 star 502 hash.
I'm not surprised at all. I know very well that you're desperate because your fiancé dumped you for your little sister. You thought latching onto someone could help. But it's way too late, Dad. I've been rude to Marcelo, and I don't think he'll forgive me.
But it's never too late, my dear. Go look for him.
Madam, I'm sorry, but I am not a thief. In any case, what good would one earring be to me? Well, it has to show up.
You probably don't know this story, but I was inside the house when your mother fell from the second floor.
Back, we continue with business, where the government has distributed 30 tons of cotton seeds to farmers at the Bura irrigation scheme in Tana River County in a revival plan of the textile value chain. The seeds, which are meant for multiplication, will be planted on an initial 2,500 acres of land at the scheme in the next planting season. Farmers at the scheme welcomed the support, saying it will help drive up productivity.
Tunataka kuweka zao la pamba nguvu mpya, na tutawasaidia na pembejeo, mbegu, tutawapatia mbolea.
Bura irrigation scheme size yake in terms of what is developed in terms of infrastructure, we have 12,000 acres, and with the coming in of gravity system we have a potential to go up to 25,000 acres.
Wakati kitambo hapa nilikuwa mtoto nikiona pamba inalimwa na wazazi wangu, na ilikuwa ni nzuri sana. Na kwa kusema kweli, wakati hiyo ilikuwa main crop ambao tunalima ilikuwa ni pamba.
Tuliwacha kupanda pamba kwa sababu bei ya pamba ilikuwa mbaya zaidi, shilingi 20, shilingi 30.
Tumeletea wakulima mbegu ya kawaida ya kuzalisha ili tuwe na mbegu ya kutosha ya kupeleka kwa wakulima wengine katika misimu ambayo inakuja.
So we have seen that we are going to reduce imports for cotton from these other regions by producing our own and also create employment. It's an industrial crop, so we are going to support our industries.
Saa hii kile kimenifurahisha ni kusikia kutakuwa na ule mwenye kuangalia hiyo pamba yangu, changamoto gani iko hapo. Vile vitu nitakuwa ninahitaji katika hii ukulima wa pamba, nitakuwa ninasaidika.
Tunaamini ya kwamba mradi si mbaya, ni mzuri. Na bei ile ambao tumezungumziwa siku ya leo ya 72 ni mzuri. Inaweza kutuboosti kufika mahali.
Tunafurahia na tukaona ni mzuri sana, tutaokoa maisha yetu kwa hiyo njia ya bei, na kulingana na weather hapa, pamba hapa kwetu haina ugonjwa nyingi sana kama wale ile nyingine. Ni kitu ambacho tunaweza manage ili tufikishe mahali ambapo tunataka.
Vijana wengi wamepotea huku nje kwa sababu ya ukosefu wa ajira.
na kwa sababu ya hii pamba watapata kazi. So itainua pia living standard yetu hapa kwa scheme.
NCPB tutarecruit hata kama ni watu casuals, ili mkulima wawe hapo, store iko hapo, unarindimu voucher zako na alafu unachukua fertilizer.
We have invested in capacity building for the farmers. We have already assured them of availability of irrigation water because that is the main focus for National Irrigation Authority. Then linkage with the market because now there will be a hand-to-hand from production up to the market.
Soko iko na mwenye kununua ananunua, labda kuingia muragai katikati, lakini ikiwa hivyo pamba ninaipenda kwa sababu soko iko na nina hakika nikivuna itanunuliwa. Hata saa hii ni vile liliwa na ng'ombe, nilikuwa nauliza uko na kilo ngapi tuje tuchukue.
Tutang'ang'ana kabisa kwa sababu mahitaji yetu yote kama wakulima tutakuwa tuko nayo, upande wa maji tutakuwa nayo, na pia mbegu tayari ndio hii unaona tumepata, so hakuna kitu kitaturudisha nyuma. Letu sisi wakulima ni kujikakamua na ili tuweze kusongesha hii skimu mbele, na pia kimaisha tuwe tuko mahali pa juu kutokana na mahali tuko sasa.
The Cooperative Act is being amended to pave the way for development of prudential regulations for startups and small SACCOs that are not under the purview of the SACCO Society's regulatory authority. Cooperatives Cabinet Secretary Simon Chilgay says this in addition to plans to set up an inter-borrowing and access to central payment systems is expected to enhance confidence in the cooperative movement.
Several legal amendments meant to streamline the cooperative movement are underway. This includes the SACCO Societies Act that seeks to increase short-term liquidity through inter-borrowing and access to central payment systems, as well as development of prudential regulations for startups and small SACCOs that are not currently under the purview of the SACCO Society's regulatory authority.
The bills are at the final stages of signing. That is the cabinet memo, and we are left with two signatures, and then we submit to cabinet, bring it to parliament. So that is the stage where we are, and that's our normal process of policy, regulation, and laws.
Plans are also underway to bring all cooperatives undertaking withdrawable deposits under the SASRA regulatory framework.
It's not an appeal. These are my instructions that, given in the shortest time possible, KUSCO should begin the process of joining regulation to be oversighted. It is good manners, it is a sign of goodwill, and it is a show of confidence and also willingness to be transparent and accountable.
Chelugui told the 9th Annual SACCO Leaders Convention in Mombasa that there has been a reduction in non-remittance of SACCO deductions by employers due to employment of new strategies.
What we do is we write letters, we engage the SACCOs and employers, we visit them, our officers visit them, and engage with those employers. They can do agency notice on certain employers, and the bank accounts can be closed by the Commission of Cooperatives if they don't cooperate.
For Prime Edition from Mombasa County, I am Ann Boru.
If you're interested in nature and wildlife, especially elephants, then the Amboseli National Park could be among your favorite destinations. The Amboseli ecosystem boasts of the largest elephant population in Kenya and offers more to those touring the area, as Irene Muchuma Odim narrates on Magical Scenes.
The Amboseli National Park hosts the largest herd of elephants in Kenya. Amboseli holds the record of the world's longest elephant tusks. In fact, the Amboseli Elephant Research Project has been spearheading studies about the African elephant since its establishment in 1972 by the Amboseli Trust for Elephants. The elephants are usually in herds of up to 100 animals. Amboseli is home to other wildlife, including members of the Big Five, as well as other animals such as wild dogs, buffaloes, giraffes, zebras, crocodiles, mongoose, dik-dik, lesser kudu, and nocturnal porcupine.
Amboseli National Park is very beautiful because of the wildlife which is present within the park. Within the park, we have over 56 mammals which can be seen from time to time. And we also have all except one when we talk about the Big Five. We have the lions, we have the leopards, we have the cheetahs, we have the buffaloes, all can be seen in the park at any given time.
In addition, Amboseli is home to about 600 species of birds, including the migratory flamingos, who mostly move between Kenya and Tanzania for food and breeding. The birds would be spotted in flocks, a paradise for photographers and those interested in birding. If you are keen on the pink birds, Amboseli is the place to be. Here you will spot flocks of flamingos. The most spectacular thing about Amboseli National Park is the scenic beauty. The blend of wildlife and vegetation is arguably worth your time and money. How about also waking up in the morning to a clear view of the highest mountain in Africa, Mount Kilimanjaro? Amboseli offers the best views of Mount Kilimanjaro. A common saying in the area is that Mount Kilimanjaro is in Tanzania, but the beauty of the mountain can also be appreciated when viewed from Kenya. Those who have toured the area believe the most scenic views of Mount Kilimanjaro's snow-capped peak are accessed in Amboseli. The rocky hill in Amboseli is among the best kept secrets.
So when you make it to this destination, you have an opportunity to see the Lake Amboseli, of course the hippos that comes with it, the flamingos, okay, and then the game as well. So it's the best actually park, yeah, for that is yet to be visited enough. We are lucky that at least we converted the Hemingway's house, and a house that Ernest Miller Hemingway's stayed in when he was actually in Kenya. And it's a location, again, that the Miller actually wrote his novel, or wrote his book, The Snows of Kilimanjaro.
We are working very closely with the communities in conservation and also in improving ecotourism. Because as we know, visitors visit Amboseli because of three main things. First of all, I've talked about wildlife. Secondly, because of culture. You know, the park is surrounded by the community, and these are the Maasai community, and the Maasai culture is still very intact.
Irene Mchuma Odim, Magical Sense, in the county of Kajiado.
Over 3 billion shillings has been recovered in the last 5 years from companies abusing their dominant positions. The Competition Authority of Kenya says most of the deals affected the small and medium enterprises. CAK Chair Shaka Kariuki says the authority is tightening the noose on players engaging in business anomalies.
Section 21 of the Competition Act addresses restrictive trade practices that undermine competition in the trade of goods and services. The Act prohibits agreements, decisions and concerted practices that have the effect of preventing, distorting or lessening competition in any goods or services in Kenya.
It's about enforcing the Competition Act. And as a result of that, which, yes, you are right, we've done that a number of times over the recent past. But as a result of that, as a matter of fact, if you look at it over the last 5 years, we've said the consumer, who is our ultimate shareholder.
Now, the Competition Authority of Kenya says it will not stop at manufacturers alone, adding that it has specific sectors on its radar, even as it expands its scope, depending on the evidence provided.
One is retail sector. Is an area of concern for us, insurance, and those are sectors under the Department of Buyer Power, where there's a relationship between supplier and a buyer, and therefore what are the conducts that will require to be enforced by the authority.
The CAK is also looking at increasing compliance officers across the counties as consumers bring in new complaints as a result of changing manufacturing trends.
In the recent years, the number of complaints we are seeing is not only from Nairobi or big cities. We are reaching far-fetched companies or even counties, Mandera, Kisumu. Those are the complaints we are now receiving, which means that we have gone into counties, therefore we are likely to get more complaints as opposed to 5-6 years ago, where we are only within Nairobi and only elites, so to speak, are aware of what we are doing.
CAK said this during the International Competition Network 2024 ICN Advocacy Workshop in Nairobi. Alan Aoko, Prime Edition.
Phase 1 of the Konza Technopolis is 97% complete following the installation of key infrastructure such as electric power and fiber optic cables. This has attracted major blue chip companies in the vehicle assembly, household goods construction and materials, including electronic good makers. The Kenya Association of Manufacturers say investors are taking advantage of various tax incentives offered at the expansive special economic zone.
Manufacturers are planning to leverage on the Konza Technopolis energy mix to reduce their cost of doing business. Kenya Association of Manufacturers Chief Executive Officer Anthony Mwangi says a number of manufacturers producing cable, household goods, construction materials and electronic assemblers are the latest firms to set up shop at the Konza Technopolis. CAM says the state-of-art data facility at Konza is attractive to potential investors as it eases the cost of doing business by linking up local manufacturers to potential buyers, both in the country and globally.
As manufacturers, we are happy to note that we are now ready to meet some of the investors who different manufacturers will sell their materials, the different items they manufacture.
Because we are driving the development of a smart city with a vision to be a leading global technopolis and innovation hub with a mission to develop a sustainable smart city and innovation ecosystem that will contribute to Kenya's knowledge-based economy.
Manufacturers say the cost of production is also expected to reduce for firms operating at the Technopolis due to a well-elaborate energy mix that is much cheaper and reliable. The government has designated Konza as a special economic zone, with firms in the facility enjoying numerous tax breaks to increase investors' appetite for space at the Technopolis.
It's a development of an e-waste center, which we are very much interested in. Based on the ICT manufacturing that we do, there will be a lot of e-waste, and we want to do collaboration, especially in that area.
Benson Rioba reporting for Prime Edition.
shamba ni mbili. Yako ni gani? Kwenye star 570 hash. Every 100 shillings unayotumia kwa Lucky Game inakupa 1 entry point ya kuingia kwenye drum ya draw, ambayo inakupa fursa ya kujishindia moja kati ya shamba hizi mbili. Mwisho wa April namtangaza mshindi wa shamba hili la 1.1 million Kenyan shillings na unapata title deed yako safi. Na mwisho wa Mei namtangaza mshindi wa shamba hili la 1.1 million Kenyan shillings, lori za mawe na mchanga. Ploti ndizo hizi. Dial star 570 hash. Title deed ndio hii. Vuka na shake.
On KBC Channel 1, we are a TV station like no other. Get a taste of the best in entertainment.
Yes, indeed.
Feel the passion.
Will you promise me?
I swear that you will never lose me. I can't get married to you.
I'm sure you knew about it. That's why you're making fun of me.
Experience the drama.
Get out. Who is the man in this one?
And the laughter.
Hii wigi umevaa kichwani.
Sisi wakati tulikuwa tunaapishwa tunapewa mheshimiwa.
Move to the beat.
We are live from Broadcasting House.
And get informed on the latest happenings. KBC Channel 1. We are the full package.
Oh, yes.
And Kenya's watching.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Welcome back. Now, adoption of indigenous crops could be a solution to poor crop yields as a result of unpredictable weather patterns, changing pests and emerging diseases. Care International and the Swiss-based Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition have teamed up with community-based organizations and women groups to promote production of indigenous vegetables as an alternative source of income and nutritious foodstuffs for rural households in Nakuru.
Kenya is endowed with diverse vegetable species that includes over 200 African indigenous vegetables, most of which have been ignored as vital policies have been focusing on 3 exotic vegetables comprising cabbage, sukuma wiki and spinach. This has narrowed their dietary diversity and denied producers of traditional foods market. This has prompted Care International, Swiss-based Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition, community-based organizations and women groups to launch an initiative aimed at promoting indigenous vegetables for income and enhanced nutrition.
So we have introduced here farming of Africa leafy vegetables. Okay, so they are growing amaranth, terere, managu, as we call it. But also they have not been growing many types.
Lishe Bora ilikuja ilituhusu sasa kuuza hii managu, terere, sageti, na sasa tunaona hii kikundi imetusaidia sana juu imetuletea yani vitu ambao zinatusaidia kwa mwili.
It's very hard for the women small scale farmers with their small plots to make sure that they can produce enough by themselves, to make sure they can eventually sell in the markets.
He says other than the nutritional, medicinal and commercial values offered by African indigenous leafy vegetables, they are key in managing climate change since most indigenous vegetables are better adapted to drought and common pests and diseases.
And the beauty of this process is that they join forces to make sure that they get the training, the capacity building to produce more, to produce better, to produce sustainable food.
He says indigenous crops grow in most parts of the country, unlike exotic vegetables, which only grow in specific regions. Ian Muse reporting for Prime Edition.
The Hustler Fund has so far disbursed 48 billion shillings, almost 2 years since the fund was formed. The fund is also battling high numbers of defaulters, with the figure now standing at 10 billion shillings at the end of December 2023. Betty Kiptum caught up with Elizabeth Nkuku, the acting Chief Executive Officer of Hustler Fund, to find out the ups and downs of the fund. Here are the details.
Thank you for watching KBC Channel 1. It is now time for an interactive session, and we want to talk about the Hustler Fund. This was created to ensure that the common mwananchi has better access to credit. To have this conversation is Elizabeth Nkuku, who is the acting CEO in charge of Hustler Fund. Thank you very much, Liz, for speaking with us. I mean, 48 billion shillings disbursed so far.
Yes.
What are the numbers looking like, and what are the benefits?
Thank you, Betty, and thanks for always having an opportunity for us to come and talk to mwananchi about the performance of the Hustler Fund. We have seen great strides. The fund has grown quite a bit in terms of disbursements, in terms of success stories, in terms of even focus. The savings is another thing that I would really want us to talk about today. So the total disbursements are close to 48 billion. Repayments are also catching up. We are at 36 billion. So clearly our repayment is well above 73%, which is pretty decent. If you look at the performances across the country, we have, again, varied repayments, but we can say with an average of 73, we have the highest repairs at over 80%, that is per county. We could have some that are lagging behind, but yes, we will take time to explain to them why they need to pay and also support them. This is, if you remember, the Hustler Fund is not only a money-giving mechanism, but it's also a way for us to see how can we support mwananchi across the board. Why are they not paying? Will it be an economic policy that we need to push towards where they are? So you need to look at Hustler Fund not only on the numbers, but also what is it helping, what is it telling us as a country, what do we need to do other than the credit only. Right. So the prepayments have been great. The savings have also been great. We are at 2.8 billion of Kenyan people's money, all invested and earning treasury bill rates. So we are seeing that as also a significant game changer. From the anniversary, the government kept its word. Everybody who had at least borrowed 5 times and actually who had borrowed 5 times, they got their long-term savings matched. So that is one thing that I think we all need to look forward to. Everybody, if you remember the product, for every 2 shillings you had saved on the long term, the government gave you 1 shilling. So imagine how kind of savings those are. And the way the product is, up to a maximum of, you'll get a maximum of 3,000. So for every 6,000 shillings you save, you get 3,000. So it's been an interesting journey. And I think even for the people who are using the funds, we can say success stories, because if you remember during the anniversary, we actually showcased a gentleman from Mombasa who had borrowed 800 times. And do you know what? That person actually got their tuk-tuk. So it's really good news.
The Hustler Fund is currently in its second phase, targeting MSMEs and chamas. What lessons were learned from the first phase and now picked to the implementation of this second phase?
If you remember, the biggest challenge that people have been talking about is about limits. You are giving me 500 and then I can do with it what? So the first thing was, to show people, yes, the limits could be low, but you can do something that helps you increase your limits. So that on the personal level, what then happened after the anniversary, good borrowers' limits were enhanced. So there are people who got their limits actually more than doubled. We got someone whose limit maybe increased by 60%. We got, and the lowest increment to about 40%. These are people who had borrowed at least between three times. At least if you had borrowed more than 2 times, you actually got your limit increased, and you were in good standing. That, again, so that was the credit-led. The other thing was like, okay, fine, this person has the savings. You don't have significant risk on this person. Can you even give them even higher? So there are people who are borrowing 50,000 as we speak from the Hustler Fund on an individual level. So even before you go to the business, the limits conversation for good borrowers is actually a very positive story. We have 1.2 million people who actually got their limits increased. As long as you're a good borrower, you are saving consistently, then that becomes the story that we back on. So for the now onto the business side, which is the chama and also the biashara. One of the reasons why we were getting into that is also to increase the limits. And what we have seen with the chamas is that in as much as the limits are getting increased because of the number of people you have, because we are using that as a leverage. So for example, if my limit is 1,000, if I borrow through the chama, I get 3,000. I contribute 3,000 to the chama. So that is one of the ways of sorting out the limits bit. But also now, what we are looking at, how do we help these people actually create actual businesses? So we are, with the help of the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Authority, you actually get a tradable certificate that you can go showcase and say, this is what we are doing as a chama, and you can be able to actually access funding even from the other funds other than the Hustler Fund. So how then do we help these people? Because you remember, money is one of the problems that people have, but it's not the only problem. The other biggest problem is capacity. How do I keep my books? How do I know that I have a business that is scalable? So our focus now is also helping these people create sustainable businesses that are scalable through the assistance of the authority, that is MCEA, and other government institutions. Our key focus will be capacity building. We want you to start a business today. Then you need to package it in a way that is going to work so that you can employ more people. You don't want Betty always to be working alone. We want you to grow the enterprise and bring on more people. So as we move into this other next level, it will be a lot of commercialization of the enterprises and helping them grow.
From the amount that has been disbursed so far, of course 48 billion is not a small amount of money. What success stories can you pick from especially the businesses currently?
I'll talk about a gentleman that, our top borrower. This particular person borrows on a day-to-day basis, every day. So they started, they run a shop. Every morning they stock, actually they say they get sugar. So from that sugar, then they're able to reborrow and reborrow and reborrow. So if you go to their place, they have actually expanded the shops and all that. And that was from 6,000. Their initial limit was 6,000. So that person today is able to borrow 50,000. And after the anniversary, they could access 100,000 of their savings, because remember they could access 30,000. You could get 30% of your savings. So if you look at it, there are a lot of success stories like those that we can talk about. And I think we need to do a better job communicating the successes as well, so that someone can see what you can do with the little that you're getting. Mm-hmm. Yes.
The underserved people, the remote areas, as much as you're doing this capacity building, how do you ensure that there are some people who went to school, and they might be able to get this information or grasp it easier?
Yes.
There are others who did not go to school. You just get together with your fellow women in the village and start a chama, and slowly you're growing. Now you're growing on the Hustler Fund. How do you reach these very remote areas and underserved people?
So as part of product development, one of the things we realized that when we were doing the analysis, the people who have joined the chamas are actually not elite, but they are people who understand the systems. A little bit. And the other thing that we looked at, maybe that journey, people get tired in between. So we are actually looking at how do we shorten the journey of the chama especially, and how are we reaching the people at the grassroots. So what we are doing is we are partnering with the government, the Ngao team, so that we are able to get into the barazas, explain to people, teach these people actually, so that they can become our ambassadors. So we have had several sessions with them so that we can explain to them how the Hustler Fund works, and then they can go a step further and disseminate the information. So the other thing is that we are going to be doing is registration of the chamas, so that we ensure that people have an economic activity. We are going to do what is called aided registration. We go to Marikiti and register people there in their chamas, because the process could be tedious, and maybe some of the people give up on it. So we'll just come register people within the same ecosystem, because you also want to see what is it that they are doing and how can they co-guarantee each other. You don't want to fall into a situation whereby you are sending money on the chama but for consumption. This is focused on businesses. So that is one of the focus areas that we are going to be really pushing.
So Liz, with 36 billion shillings in repayment, of course there is about 12 billion thereabout yet to be repaid. What are you doing to ensure that more Kenyans are faithfully repaying their loans?
So Betty, there are things you have to, this is a journey. Remember when Hustler Fund came into being, it is coming to correct some market issues. When the government comes into something, it's because they want to nurture. So what then the fund is doing, first of all, is showing these success stories. You know, once you tell someone this is what you need to do because of ABCD, this person has done it and this is how they are looking at. So we are going to be communicating the success stories to people and showing them the reason why they should pay. And you see also the people who have already paid, they have benefited in two ways. Your limit is higher, and also your savings have also been. You already have a higher limit, say, quote-unquote return, because the government has already matched your savings. So the positivity is what we are selling as is. But you're looking at other ways in terms of how do we make this person realize that it is for their own good to pay. So we are looking at different issues, and when the policies are ready, it's something that we shall ask again for your platform for us to come and communicate and tell people why we maybe the measures for repayments will come in. But as we speak, it's really talking to people and showing them why this is important. And actually, if you're someone who borrowed this fund and thought that this amount is so low, then you're not the right target person. So you should better repay and get the other person who is better or who deserves it to actually get it. Because there are people maybe who are not paying because it's government money. Yes, it's government money, but it's a loan. You should always pay your loans.
With 2.8 billion shillings in savings so far, how accessible are these funds to Kenyans who have saved the money?
We have two products under the savings. We have what is mandatory. As you borrow, you get 5% deducted from at source. So you have 500 shillings. What comes to your account is 475, or what goes to your M-Pesa account is 475. 25 shillings goes to the savings. That is what is called mandatory. That mandatory portion is actually divided again into two, 30% and 70%. We don't want you to be old without money. We want to help you at least live a good life after retirement. We defined retirement age of 60 because we want to give people options as well. We know hustlers don't retire. That is one of the conversations we always told. But you may not retire, but it's good to have options that, you know what, I can access this money at some point. So 30% of the money you can access at any point. So from the fund's anniversary, we opened 30%. The withdrawals, interesting, have not been that much. People still want to have their monies there. But also, yeah, so that's it. Then the 70% you access when you turn age 60. After age 60, sorry. So as you turn to age 61, that's when you start accessing your 70%. And that is the portion that the government is actually matched, the long term. Then, for people who are above the age of 61, we treat all your savings as a short term because you could need that money, so all your money is short term, you can access it. People have accessed their funds. So the question is not an issue of when, it is, if you have saved, you can actually access your money. If you have saved your voluntary savings, it acts like a money market fund. You actually can just dial *254# and withdraw your money. So we are giving people alternatives to savings, so that your money does not always sit under the pillow. We want to help you or to walk the journey of introducing people to the capital markets in a riskless manner, and that is why all the savings have to be invested in government securities. Yes.
The Hustler Fund targets the common mwananchi, and we know that a lot of Kenyans are stuck in debt. You know, they are borrowing here to pay here, and I'm sure some have even borrowed on Hustler Fund to pay, you know, another loan somewhere. So that means financial literacy is still lacking in this country. What do you think the Hustler Fund and the government at large can do to solve this challenge?
I think the biggest thing is training and letting more people discuss or talk about the best ways to use debt. Because yes, people borrow from here to here, but I think there are two things that you need to understand. So first of all, if these people are are basically borrowing because they have no means. You have to create a way they can earn. So I think we have seen the president talk a lot about how employment is a key thing, what the government is doing about employment. So I think on that end, the government is doing a lot in terms of making sure people can earn. On the other end, it is now good, it's now taking that and taking an initiative of explaining to people the use of good debt. Because debt is not bad. The issue is don't borrow to drink, borrow to start a business. So, and I think with the showcasing of the success stories with the Hustler Fund and other sorts of borrowing, that will change the culture. And maybe my recommendation is this training needs to start earlier on. I keep saying if I looked at investments differently, not from classroom perspective when I was getting help, I think my life would be very different. So we used to think about compounding interest as kupita mtihani, but now if you can see that as a wealth creation path, I think it is different. So I just feel like it's something that we need to start introducing our kids very earlier on to change our culture, because it's a culture problem.
How sustainable is the Hustler Fund?
The Hustler Fund is sustainable because there are people borrowing and people repaying. And if you look at the social good that it is actually giving to the country, there's a lot of interest also of people wanting to come and not only lend, but also offer products within the fund. So if you look at the Hustler Fund, it's not only a lending platform, it's actually a complete e-commerce offering different products. We shall have people trading with each other within the fund because we have the largest database with 22 million Kenyans subscribed. So you can imagine what sort of a market that is. So in terms of sustainability of the fund, I can say for sure it is sustainable. I think everything is going technology, it's technological advancement. So the question is, how do we ensure that we don't leave anyone behind? If, for example, you want to lend to my mother, how do I make sure that she understands what exactly this is and someone else is not going to take advantage of that and so lose interest in the fund? So I feel like, yeah, sustainable, but there is still a lot of work that we need to do in education.
In education.
Yeah.
And speaking of now the Hustler Fund, it is a government product. There is the private sector that offers the same product that Hustler Fund offers. I'd like you to speak about empowering, public-private partnerships in terms of empowering Kenyans access credit.
I think the biggest success story is the Hustler Fund of a PPP in this country. Actually, someone needs to write about success stories in a PPP. The government is providing funding. All the entire infrastructure is private sector. So we have the three MNOs, that is the Safaricom, Airtel, and T-Cash. They're the ones who are distributing the money. Then we have the two banks behind it. So we have KCB and Family Bank. So if you look at that, you're using the infrastructure of the private sector to get the service to the mwananchi. And I think also we have seen really basically everything that the government is doing is almost going to very digital so that you can be able to go to the grassroots. So if you combine the thought process with the execution, what I was talking about using the Ngao and the people at the grassroots within the government to train these people and show them this is why we are doing this, I think it will be a significant game changer. We will see the same people who, these are the private sector wanting to ride on this. We have a lot of people who wants to look at the data and see what is it that, what products can we do. So I think as a pilot, the Hustler Fund has created key success stories in PPP, how it can be done, and two, opportunities for other private sectors to ride on.
Right. So what is the future looking like for the Hustler Fund?
I think if I look at it, the things can only get better for the Hustler Fund because, one, you have a ready market in form of the people who wants to borrow, and look at it, you're offering subsidized loans. So anyone who wants to do business, they are actually a step ahead. Instead of borrowing maybe at 20%, they're actually borrowing at 8%. So if I can access 50,000, that is something. You know, when you look at this, the mama mbogas that are being targeted, 50,000 means a lot to them. They can actually expand the offering. So on that end, the key thing is to educate and show people why it is important to borrow responsibly. On the other end, we have not only government willing to put in money, we have donors who are looking at it and saying, okay, fine, our focus area is really, we don't want to leave anyone behind as part of the SDGs. It's really talks to 7 of the SDGs. So well executed, the future it has a huge future. And you see, the thing is, you're not competing with the private sector. We want to make people, once I have already said this is a good borrower, I take them on to the next level. I can't be able to give you 1 million shillings, but wait a minute, the bank is willing to. There are other government funds that are willing to. But for us, it's really to sanitize you and make sure that you're a good borrower. We have trained you. Please grow to the next level.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a very positive story.
Yeah.
So I'd like to get your closing remarks as we come to a close of the conversation.
The closing remarks are, yes, the future is bright with the Hustler Fund. The responsibility is yours because you have to take the step and do the right thing. And one takeaway is, I think there is a huge opportunity in communication and explaining to people financial literacy. I feel like as a country, that is something that we all need to throw ourselves into. And guess what? We all have the information. It's just an issue of how do we consume it.
The future is bright for the Hustler Fund. That is the message from the Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Hustler Fund, Elizabeth Nkuku. We have been talking about access to credit for Kenyans, and she says that it is important for Kenyans to educate themselves on matters financial literacy to ensure that they are dealing with good debt as opposed to bad debt that is becoming a liability to so many Kenyans who are borrowing on one platform to pay in the next platform. That is the conversation this evening. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Betty Kiptum. Bye-bye.
Is on standby with sports, but just before that, let me take you to the courts where the Director of Criminal Investigation, Mohammed Amin, wants the court to allow his officers to detain Bishop David Kariuki Ngare, widely known as Gakuo, for a period of 4 days. The officers urge the court to grant them the days to enable them complete investigations related to conspiracy to defraud members of the public over 1 billion shillings by 3 companies owned by the embattled bishop. Gakuo will now spend the night at the Muthaiga police station awaiting tomorrow's court's ruling whether to be freed or detained as per DCI's request.
Milimani's Magistrate Court Thursday was treated to a 4-hour submission and rejoined us from Kansas representing Gakuyo and the state.
6 orders to have the respondent detained for 4 days at the Muthaiga police station, and the said notice of motion is supported by an affidavit sworn by one Corporal Bernard Gikandi.
The investigating officer Bernard Gikandi told Senior Resident Magistrate Geoffrey Onsarigo that the accused swindled billions of shillings from members using his 3 investment companies, Ekeza Sacco, Gakuyo Real Estate and Gakuyo Investors Club. Investigating officers believe he was running away to avoid being arrested and charged.
Your Honor, I firmly believe that the respondent is a flight risk. It's likely to interfere with the ongoing investigations, including contacting critical witnesses and concealing material documents necessary and relevant to the investigations, Your Honor.
Sentiments that received very strong objections by a battery of lawyers representing Gakuyo.
And we are wondering under what capacity the prosecutor can attest to the content contained therein. And therefore, if whatever she's submitting on, Your Honor, is going to go on record, it will be prejudicial to the defense.
To a serious man of God, he deserves to be treated to that status. May the court get favor in our presentation, Your Honor.
Elsewhere, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions have locked horns over the prosecution of 8 persons charged for defrauding Jothamo Development Company 42.7 million shillings.
And have served upon the defense. Your Honor, the EACC has interest in this matter, and as such we are opposed by, I don't know whether it was an application or just sentiments by my colleague, Mr. Undimu, that the decline affidavit be expunged.
Though I've looked at it and I was ready to proceed, and I would not be objecting to the request by my colleagues for an adjournment. And And I don't think the EACC need to respond to that. It's true they served this morning.
According to EACC, the accused exaggerated the cost of a procurement service by over 100% in 2013. It's now a face-off between the EACC and the DPP in a graft case involving 8 accused persons in the Geothermal Development Company. Which way court? Ruth Wamboy for Prime Edition from Milimani Law Courts.
A very good evening to you. My name is Daniel Ohome and welcome to Prime Edition Sports. Now, Kenya is ready to co-host the 8th edition of the African Nations Championship, scheduled to take place in September this year, with Tanzania and Uganda co-hosting. The Cabinet Secretary for Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports, Ababu Namwamba, affirmed this today when he met with the Confederation of African Football Secretary General Veron Mosenga Omba. The CS said Kenya had the infrastructure in place in readiness for the championship, adding that renovations at the Buhungu Stadium were underway and were expected to be complete in 4 months' time. The African Nations Championship will act as a curtain raiser for the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations, scheduled to be held by the Pamoja bid states.
The FKF also, brother Nick, told me that they are ready, but he's an old friend. You know, the assurance came from the minister, you know. Minister told me, assured me that they are ready. We talk about the different stadiums who are and where the refurbishing is still ongoing. And I'm happy to hear this from the government.
We're very happy that CAF has granted the Pamoja team, Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania, the opportunity to host CHAN 2024. We have provided a brief on our preparedness. We have no doubt that we'll be ready to host CHAN in September this year. Kenya is already preparing a Buhungu Stadium in Kakamega as our principal venue for the CHAN tournament. And I'm in touch with my brother ministers in Uganda and Tanzania, and I'm aware that they are similarly getting ready to co-host CHAN.
And remember that the Championship of African Nations is part of KBC's AFCON package. Now moving on is that Eldoret residents were united in grief as the casket carrying the body of the late World Marathon record holder Kelvin Kiptum was taken through Uasin Gishu for tomorrow's interment. The mourners lit candles within Eldoret town, halting every activity in the city before the body was moved from Eldoret Hospital mortuary today for a procession. The body was later taken to Iten grounds for public viewing before a prayer service at the ACK Chepkorio Church. The funeral service of the lady Kiptum is set for tomorrow at Chepsamo Secondary School grounds, where President William Ruto is expected to attend.
It was a somber mood as mourners escorted the body of the late world marathon record holder Kelvin Kiptum in his last earthly journey from Eldoret Hospital mortuary in Uasin Gishu County. The body of the late Kiptum was moved from Eldoret Hospital morgue to Iten, escorted by hundreds of people led by boda boda riders, while others sang traditional dirges to honor the legendary athlete. The cortege proceeded to Iten in Elgeyo Marakwet County, where a church service was held, after which the body was displayed for public viewing at Iten Sports Ground. Elgeyo Marakwet Governor Wesley Rotich and his deputy Grace Cheserek led members of the public to view Kiptum's body. Kiptum will be laid to rest tomorrow at his Naiberi home. The burial ceremony will be attended by President William Ruto, state and athletics dignitaries.
Sisi tuko tunachagua barabara moja Iten, tutaita anytime in the next 1 week, tutaita Kelvin Kiptum, tunataka kujiuliza kama tutaita road ama avenue.
The world record holder died in a car accident along the Eldama Ravine Eldoret Road alongside his coach Gervais Hakizimana on the 11th of this month. According to the post-mortem results conducted by the government pathologist Dr. Johansen Odor, the late marathon world record holder Kelvin Kiptum died from severe head trauma sustained during the car crash. Nora Mwangi for Prime Edition.
And remember that the final journey for Kelvin Kiptum is part of our coverage in our news tomorrow. Now, Greg Snow and Njoroge Kifo played level par 71 to finish joint 56th after round one of the magical Kenya Open that teed off at the Muthaiga Golf Club. Dutchman Darius Van Driel took the day one lead after a round of 5 under par 66. Here's my report.
After dropping 3 shots in the front 9, Njoroge Kivugo had 3 birdies in the back 9 to finish day one of the magical Kenya Open on level par 71 at his home course, the Muthaiga Golf Club. His clubmate Greg Snow had 2 birdies cancelled by 2 bogeys for a similar score, as finished the day joint 56th. Dutchman Darius Van Driel had an eagle at the par 5 10th hole and 5 birdies blighted by 2 bogeys to finish top on 5 under par 66. Day 2 of the event, which is another stop of the 2024 DP World Tour, continues on Friday with 60 golfers and those tied making the cut into the weekend as they battle for a share of the 366.5 million shillings prize pass. Meanwhile, the Junior Golf Foundation received a golf container from DP World that will be used for golf kits used by upcoming golfers.
And now we have this beautiful mobile golf container that we're going to be using for our juniors to be able to practice golf. So this, from the bottom of our hearts, from Junior Golf Foundation, we are truly, truly grateful.
But what's really important is grassroots golf, and to all you kids are going to get an opportunity to grow up with something like this. Wow, I'd be such a better putter if I did this. If I had this when I was your age. So thank you to DP World, and congratulations to the Junior Golf Foundation. We couldn't be more excited.
The Junior Golf Foundation also received a share of the 280,000 golf balls collected across the world to support the grassroots initiative.
Now, moving on is that the 2024 FKF Mozambique Cup enters the round of 32 this weekend across different venues in the country. Bungoma Stars, the underdog surprise of the preliminary round that sent FKF Premier League side Bandari home, will play FC Talanta at the Police Sacco Stadium on Saturday. Meru side Al Azizia also made it to the round of 32 after beating Luanda Villa 4-3 on post-match penalties in the round of 64 and will now face Mombasa Stars, with the most goals scored in the last round. Kicking out El Doro Villa, the current cup holders Kakamega Homeboys will travel to El Damaravin to meet the regional side Solan City. Gor Mahia will travel to the coastal side to play Denmark FC. Also on Sunday, PSC University will face AFC Leopards, the previous second round runners-up of the tournament, at the Police Sacco Stadium on Sunday. And the national cross-country team will leave the country tonight for Tunisia to take part in the Africa Cross-Country Championships set to be held on Saturday in Hartmamet. The team of 30 athletes will be led by team manager John Washira.
The team led by Mr. John Washira will depart tonight for Hartmamet to take part in the Africa Cross-Country Championships. Some of the athletes in the team include Judy Kimunto, Lucy Nduta, Sharon Chepkemoi, Judy Chepkoech, Marion Jepngetich, and Cynthia Chepkurui, who will participate in the 6-kilometer junior women's race. In the men's 8-kilometer junior, Kenya will be represented by Titus Kiprotich, Gideon Kipngetich, Clinton Kimutai, Simon Maywa, Joseph Njoroge, and Joash Kiprotich. Cynthia Chepngeno, Sandra Felix Chebet, Virginia Nyambura, Gladys Kwamboka, Karen Chebet, and Beatrice Mbegi will take part in the 10-kilometer senior women's race, while the men's 10-kilometer team has Naibei Kiplimo, Vincent Langat, Frederick De Mongole, Robert Kiprop, Brian Kipto, and Vincent Kimayo. Miriam Cherop, Evelyn Chepkoech, Wilfred Mbize, Edwin Kiprono, Victor Kipkurui, and Newton Kipkurui will take part in the mixed relay. The event was last held in 2018 in Shelf, Algeria, while subsequent editions in 2020 in Togo and 2021 were cancelled due to COVID-19 pandemic. Kenya bagged a total of 3 gold medals in the previous edition held in 2018. Faith Akenye for Prime Edition.
And still on speed is a two-time World Rally champion. Kale Rovanpera will be out to reclaim the overall title in the WRC Safari Rally, which is scheduled to take place next month over the Easter holiday. He is among the entries received so far from the Toyota Gazoo racing team. Rovanpera had hoped to defend his title in the 2023 round of the WRC, but was dethroned by his teammate and 8-time world champion Sebastien Ogier, navigated by Vincent Lade in a Toyota Gazoo racing Yaris. He chose to compete partly in the 2024 season and started with the Rally of Sweden, co-driven by Jonne Huitinen, but unfortunately retired. He rejoined the next day, where he finished 39th overall in a rally won by Esape Kalapi and Janne Pham of Hyundai. Alvin Evans, who finished second in the Rally of Sweden, has also been entered for the WRC Safari Rally Kenya, with Takamoto Katsuta of Toyota Racing looking forward to a victorious outing in Kenya. And so that's the sport for tonight. And remember, the Easter weekend is all about the WRC Safari Rally. It's going to be live on KBC Channel 1. Back to you, Cynthia Nyamai.
Thank you so much, Wahome. But before we leave, tell us a little bit about tomorrow. All eyes will be in Eldoret for the final journey of Kiptum. What should we expect tomorrow?
I think it's going to be a somber moment for the people of Elgeyo-Marakwet County and also for the athletics family all across the world, because I remember that night, it was the night of the AFCON final, and when that news started creeping in, there's the excitement about the football, but there is also the sadness because he broke a world record and he was supposed to attempt a legitimate sub-2-hour marathon in Rotterdam later this year. And we've got to say thank you to the government of the country, because Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba was in Rwanda yesterday for the funeral service of Coach Gavier Hakizimana, and tomorrow he's going to be part of the funeral service of Kelvin Kiptum, and also His Excellency the President is expected to be there. I think we've lost one young man. It's the second one. A great marathoner we've lost at the age of 24. We would not like to see that again after the death of Samuel Kamowanjiro and Kelvin Kiptum. And to the family of Kiptum and the athletics family, our condolences to you. We stand by you.
Indeed, our condolences, and we will be covering everything that is going to go on in Eldoret tomorrow for you. So stay right here at KBC. From me and the rest of the team, would like to wish you a very good night.